Hey guys, this is going to be a quick one. Um, I just wanted to say that I'm I'm gonna completely just follow my heart today, and I'll mention my results when I talk later. Okay, bye. See you in a little bit.
Hello, guys. It is 6:16, and you may have noticed that I didn't do a lunch vlog like I normally would. Well, a couple things happened. So, first, I'm going to go over the food stuff. So, I ended up eating quesadillas, but it was like a cheese quesadilla that had a bunch of vegetables in it. No egg. Uh, it would have been nice to have some egg there, I think, but it was fine. Um, and then currently, I got the classic. Um, Maybe I'll show that at the very end because I want to keep it warm. But I feel like this is going to be a long one, so buckle in. um, anyway, so I had that very brief, like 20-second clip, I think, or it was very, very short, where I'm gonna follow my heart. And as embarrassing as this sounds, I'm just gonna say it how it happened. Um, I woke up at like I don't think I even said what time I did the recording because I was so wrapped up. Again, I had the tunnel vision again. Um, where I was like, this time is going to be different because I can manifest things. And it very much was coming from a place of force. Like, I'm going to force this to manifest. And so I got it in my head that, at like 6:30 or something in the morning, that I was just going to go to Central Park to the zoo and stand there and wait for the person I've been like talking about to just show up. And I mean, a surprise to probably no one, me trying to force a manifestation, it just didn't happen. And I stood there for like an hour and a half before I was like, okay, my feet are really tired. It's slightly drizzling. Like I'm really hungry. I need to use the restroom. So I was just like, okay. And for about maybe like 5 minutes, I was sad because I was like, well, it should have worked. But my gut kind of already knew it just wasn't going to work. But I was just headstrong, like, no, I'm going to make this happen. Um, and then through this experience, something really magical happened where I'm like, you know what? I am fucking sick and tired of trying to force things to work because it never works whenever I do try to do it. I always end up being like sad or disappointed or whatever. I'm fucking tired of it. And so I'm like, I made a vow on the like in my mind of like, I'm just not gonna do that. It doesn't matter what I want. Like, what I want will show up for me. It'll just show up in the way that's actually best for me and for whatever I want in the long run. And that may mean in the short term it just doesn't appear the way I was hoping. And I talked a bit about like how I had gone through this and I was like, surely now I've learned. But the like obsession, it really like, it was this obsession that just, it just really, it was so hard to just let go of this obsession thing and really understand that I got a lot of stuff I need to do before I think I'll be in a spot to even entertain that in a serious way. So I think that's why it hasn't showed up yet. Is because like, I have plans for when I get back of launching this like, for lack of a better term, like healing thing slash, helping advice thing. Like I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. Which again, like it'd be nice to have a foundation of like the direction that it's going to look like. I don't have to have everything figured out, but just understand the basics. And that doesn't require another person. It may help, maybe, but really, this is something that internally is going to be me doing the thing. It's not anyone else doing it. So I have to figure out how it's going to work best for me. Um, and then while I was also on the train ride home, I was thinking about how like, I basically I took a shower and I just rushed out of my place at like 7:30 in the morning. I didn't think about like, getting water. Like I drank some of the water that I had, but like, I was still dehydrated. I just didn't take care of my body. I didn't take care of my like mental space. I didn't like do the normal like food stuff. So it was just like everything was pointing at this being a wrong choice. And I do the quotes because it actually was the right choice. Only in so much as I'm not putting up with that bullshit again. I'm not going to do that again. Like, that was just a fucking waste of my time. And, uh, you know, the things that are like central and key to all of the stuff I've been learning is I have to be myself. Well, that wasn't myself, because if I was being myself, I would have taken care of all my like needs first. So, I wasn't taking care of myself. So immediately crosses off the be yourself. Um, Also, letting things come to me, because that is the mode that works. And it's not being passive. It's when something shows up, I use my discernment to see if it fits with what's going on with me. And if it fits, great. If it doesn't, then it's not for me. Um, and in that same vein, like, being willing to do leaps of faith on things that may invoke fear or that I'm not used to, things that bring me out of my comfort zone, those things are totally fine. But what's not fine is doing what I did in the morning. Now, again, I'm glad I did it because I really taught myself that it is, in fact, incredibly important for me to be taking care of myself first. And then, even then, I didn't listen to my intuition. My intuition kept saying, "Why are you here?" And I was so like wrapped up in my head and my own thoughts, and I was literally like, it was almost like screaming in my head. Like it wasn't literally screaming, but it was like saying in my head like, this will happen, this will happen, because I knew internally that the moment I stopped doing that, I would think how stupid I was being. And I say stupid, I wasn't being stupid. There was an obsessive thought that I let control my actions. And okay, like I learned something very valuable from that. So was it stupid? No. Is it something that I will do again? No, of course not. And I just want to point out, I worked through the negative thought of that was stupid, because I don't want and I don't need negative thoughts in my head. Um, I value myself too much to have negative um, negative verbiage coming from me. I'm incredibly intelligent, and sometimes I let my thoughts cloud my judgment. That's just part of being human. We're gonna all go through that at some point. Um, and I think the most important thing is, out of all of this, I didn't check in with my intuition. I didn't check in with anything. I just kind of did it. And I think, you know, me going and doing that was another sign of like knowing that this was the wrong decision. But at the same token, it was a teaching moment, which is why it happened. Because if it truly was the wrong decision, like, period, instead of the wrong decision in the future, right? Because, like, I wouldn't go and do that now. But it's something important to remember that sometimes you will make decisions that don't really, they're like dead ends, or they don't really do something inherently that you wanted to have happen. Like the outcome that I wanted didn't happen. But it was a very valuable experience nonetheless. And I think this is really important. I'm just being genuine about it and telling you guys about it, because if I was to just pretend that none of that happened and say, "Oh, sorry, I like accidentally deleted the video or whatever. It didn't record," you wouldn't have known, right? And I could, try to pretend to be like, "Oh, well, I'm so much more perfect and blah 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 whatever." No. That's not the whole point of this channel, is to just be genuine about my whole experience and like do my thoughts in the moment. And sometimes it feels embarrassing because I make mistakes. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make mistakes. Like, no one's perfect here. And the people who pretend to be perfect, they aren't perfect. You just don't see the things that they trip up on. um, so with that out of the way, this leads me to a really awesome thing that I did, which I feel just so good about doing this. So I wanted to get some more water. So I'm in the Target, and I had been like secretly sneaking glances at the back of the toy section where they have a bunch of Lego sets. And I was like, I really haven't been like doing inner child, like things that I really want to be doing. Like I've been, I enjoyed the Central Walk or the Central Park walks, right? But I remember I had this day where I was like, okay, today's the day that I do inner child, like anything that the inner child wants, and then I kind of didn't. Like it just like slid past, and I'm like, what happened there? Um. So anyway, I haven't done a Lego set in a really long time. It's probably been 20 years. I love Lego. And, I used to have this giant boat that was like 6 feet long. And I was so proud. I had two of them when I was younger. I like, I literally saved up and like got them with like the money that I got from allowance or whatever. Uh, and at the time they were like $100. And my grandfather was very generous with me as a kid and gave me $20 a month. Um, so I saved up, and I got one, then I got the other. Um, and yeah, I had really fond memories of that. So I was like, okay, inner child. I talked to my inner child when I did this. I was like, okay, I know that you really want to build a Lego set. And I could immediately feel myself like, yeah, I really want to build a Lego set. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go over there. You can pick any Lego set that you want. And it's like something that, like, when I was a kid, I would be like, oh my God, I can pick any Lego set. And they didn't have a huge selection. Uh, but, I had really liked the, like, cherry blossom trees and like that like aesthetic, the like the pond with like the lotuses and like all that fun jazz. And so I'll show you, I spent all day basically after I got back building this thing. So it's been, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours of building. And I thought about streaming it, but I'm like, no, this is kind of a sacred moment for my inner child. And so I'm going to do it, just me building it, listening to just whatever I want to listen to. I ended up just listening to some like tarot stuff and some other just random stuff that I enjoyed listening to. And so here is the final build. I know it's hard to see, so I'm going to try to flip it around to the better configuration so you can see more of. I did not get a very good shot of it, but there we go. There's like, I know you can't really see very well, but there's like little koi fish things in there that's cute. And then the house actually has things inside, which is cool. But yeah, it's a neat little set. And I thought about like originally like how am I gonna take this back? Here, let me see if I can see. They have the little things inside. It's actually really detailed in there. You just can't see it because it's dark. But anyway, I also really like that they have the little rubber like feet to hold it up. So it's like honestly, I really like it a lot. But I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, my, um, I think I could probably fit it into my stowaway above, or maybe fit it into the thing that goes underneath my legs. But I kind of want to put it in the stowaway if I can. So maybe I'll wrap it in some clothes, which it doesn't really need to be wrapped, but just like some padding. So using some clothing as padding, and then taking off. Like I'll show. Um, each individual thing has a little block that you can just take out, so it's real easy for all the trees and stuff to be separate. Um, so really, the only thing I'd actually have to detach is the house, and the house is on a couple stilts, so that's really easy to just detach and pop off. The whole base can just sit in the clothes, along with the trees and stuff. So yeah, so I think that it'll work out. And worst comes to worst, I can put the trees in the thing that goes under my feet, uh, on the plane. But I'd rather not. So I'm pretty sure I'll have room anyway. And I will say it felt very therapeutic to do that like Lego set. I was so locked in. I didn't have any thoughts. I was just listening to some stuff, and I was just building it step by step. It had 182 steps or something. So it was like, it was a decent amount of steps. It had like 12 bags of parts. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. And I have at home, which I haven't opened, two of these little, like, now it's different than Lego, but they're these like little wood and like paper. God, what are they called? Like Rio Life or I don't remember what they're called, but they're like little box things that are like mini little like scenes that you build. And I keep hearing like something with an R. I don't know. Someone knows. Um, but yeah, so I have two of those that I've been wanting to build. I'm like, yeah, I could totally do that as like a fun thing for me and my inner child to just do, because I used to really like doing models and stuff, which I haven't done modeling in a while. Um, I really hated the glue though, so these things I don't think have too much in the way of like glue. It's just kind of like mostly like snapping things together, but I do think there is some gluing. So I don't know. We'll see. Um, anyway, regardless, I think the thing I need to just focus on is doing something every day that, it doesn't have to be a 3 hour thing, but doing something every day that my inner child wants to do. I think that's going to be something I just should do. And maybe that'll look like swimming or racquetball or basketball or whatever. Um, but it also could be building a Lego set, or building the like little things I just described. Um, it could be going like I'd thought about, like, it'd be kind of nice to go bowling again, because I used to bowl, not professionally, but I was pretty good. Um, I didn't play too much of pool, but I know how to play pool, so maybe doing pool. Now again, with pool you kind of need another person. With bowling you can just do it yourself. Like, um, technically you can play yourself in pool if you want to just practice. But things like this, where it's just like, yeah, why not? Nothing's stopping me. Like, I'm an adult. Nothing's stopping me from doing these things. So I can line stuff up, just be out and doing things all the time. Um, and of course, still doing, you know, the daily videos, which at this point it's kind of integrated into like a really big part of my life. Um, at some point, maybe it won't be. Maybe I'll just do check-ins at the end of the day or something. But for now, and for this foreseeable future, this is like it's really helpful to put this stuff out through my like voice and then later go back and see them like a week later and be like, oh yeah, I do remember that. Like I just yesterday I watched all of the the two the day zero day one video. I'm like, man, you don't even know like how awesome this trip is. Um and yeah, it's like I need to just it's not even a need. It's just I'm going to stop the trying to be in a specific place to make something happen, which is kind of what's been going on the past 2 days. Or it was like 2 days, or I think it's been 2 days because it was today and yesterday. So yeah, 2 days. And instead, it's just do the thing I like. And if something happens, something happens. If something doesn't happen, well, okay, that's fine, right? Um, because it's not like I'm missing out on anything, which I think has been the like low key worry. Is like, oh, I think I'm missing out on something. Maybe I didn't do something exactly the way I should have done or whatever. It's like, no, every including the worry, everything that you've gone through and have been feeling and thinking, this has all led you through different like realizations that in the end it's like, okay, well, I'm glad I've had all of these realizations, even though in the moment it's felt, disorienting. It's like a recalibration of my entire way of existing. So of course I'm gonna go through a lot of like um, confusion, disorientation, like these moments where I try to just like power through things like I've used to, because that's how I always used to do it. I just like, okay, I'm just gonna power through it and make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. And it usually didn't happen because when you power through something, it's using force. So usually it just doesn't work out. Um, so yeah. So I guess the kind of to recap, because again, today's technically tomorrow. I have until like 4 or 3 before I'm actually leaving because I have what's it called? My flight leaves at I think it was 7 p.m. or something. It's pretty late. And then hopefully I'll have my roommates pick me up. If not, I'll just call an Uber or something. So like I'm not too worried about it. Um, but assuming that they're still going to pick me up, uh, but anyway, I also have kind of, you saw me pause and think about the roommate thing. I've come to some realizations about the roommate stuff because it's been an undercurrent throughout this whole trip of like, it feels so much better being here than it does being there. And that's such a big realization for me. It's like, oh my goodness, like the energy is so much better here. I'm not worried about snide, rude comments about like something negative that's going to pop up just because I'm just existing, which has been happening. And I've been just kind of ignoring it, and in the past, obviously I've already talked about it, but like in the past, I agreed. Um, but now I no longer allow those energies in my field. They just will not, like, barriers up. Sorry, that's sorry, not sorry. That's just not going to be a part of my existence anymore. And so I've thought about, like, okay, I'm going to need to really sit down, especially with the roommate who kind of is the main catalyst for this. Not that the other two roommates don't do it, but there is one that is kind of like the instigator because of how depressed he is. Um, and look, I understand his perspective, but doesn't mean that I need to like entertain that line of thought. So I'm just gonna sit him down. I'm gonna tell him the new dynamic, and if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. Like, it's not on me for him to like or dislike me not wanting to hear the negativity in front of me. And if he does it, I'm gonna call him out on it. And if he keeps doing it, I'm just not gonna be in the same room as him. So it's like there's escalation that will happen depending on how he respects my new boundaries. And I think it's completely reasonable to set boundaries that, hey, when I come downstairs happy, you shouldn't immediately say, "What's your fucking problem?" Like, that's not okay. I'm having a great day. I don't need you to try and like influence my day in any way, in a negative fashion. Now, if you want to say, "Oh wow, you're so happy," like, what's up? That's totally different. I'll talk. Maybe I'll talk about it, about like what's made me happy today or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I've kind of I understand my plan of action, and going forward, anyone, regardless of who it is, if they want to spread negativity to me or talk bad about people or whatever, I'm just going to cut it off and say, I'm not interested. And if they continue, I'm going to say, look, I'm not going to hang out with you if you're going to do that. It's that simple. And again, I think those are reasonable boundaries. I'm not asking anyone to change. I'm just saying, when you're around me, if you want to interact with me, I'm not going to accept that. So you can choose to play by the rules that I've set for our interaction, or you can just not interact with me. Like, it seems really like bullheaded, but yeah, I respect myself. So of course, it's the same thing as like, if someone was to say, "Hey, can I step in your face?" It's like, no, of course not. That's a boundary that seems really obvious for a physical boundary. It's like, yeah, no, you're not going to step on my face. Well, what if I just did it anyway? Well, then you can get the fuck out of here. Like, you're not going to entertain that level of like disrespect. It's the exact same thing, but it's with energy. And I understand most people don't get it. They don't get why it matters. And it's the same thing with people who, when it comes to physical boundaries, if they try to step on your face and then you say, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of here." And then they get butthurt and upset about it. Well, they don't understand that the physical boundary is a big deal, because maybe they have no boundaries physically, or maybe they've had issues with like people doing the same thing to them. And so they're just perpetuating this like negative behavior, right? You wouldn't put up with that. You would just say, hey, I'm not going to interact with you and be friends with you anymore if you keep doing this. It's the same thing, but with the energy. It's the next stage. And, here's a hint. If you do this, where you internally make sure that you catch yourself when you're talking negatively and you change the internals on how you think about yourself, and then you start setting boundaries to people externally to match that frequency, suddenly you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. Um, Something that I thought about that I'm going to close this with is it's interesting how I don't need headphones to walk around. I'll say, throughout this whole trip, the only time I've put my headphones in, well, there's two times, but the only time I've put my headphones in when I'm outside of this room was when I was waiting, and it was the last like 20 minutes of the waiting at that park, at Central Park, at the zoo this morning. That was the only time that I put headphones in. I had them on me at all times. I could have, but no, I didn't have any of them on. I wasn't looking at my phone. The only time I would look at my phone is to check to see if I'm at the right stop, which I'm getting better at. Um, you know, Knowing, hey, it's Seventh Ave, that I'm gonna go to Seventh Ave. Like, I don't need to check my phone 10 times, and I've been doing that. Where I've been like, oh, am I sure it's Seventh Ave? Yeah, it's Seventh Ave. Oh, am I sure it's Seventh Ave? Yeah, it's Seventh Ave. Well, what stop is it right now? Well, we're at 65th. Well, is that one of the stops on the Seventh Ave stop? Yeah, it is. Well, what about the next stop? Is that on the? It's like, that was me day one, and I slowly have like worked on um, getting better at it to where maybe I only check my phone like a couple times instead of like 20 times. It's a process, and that's about like just building your own confidence that you know what the fuck you're doing. And yeah, I thought about like there are a lot of people who can't go a day without having the social media out scrolling. Like, dude, I watch tarot videos instead. And you want to know why? Even if the message, like, I will just say most of the messages hit pretty accurately at this point, but even if the message doesn't necessarily like hit my situation, it's very positive energy that I'm getting from these tarot readings. There's a reason why I haven't been watching, like, there's that podcast that I really liked watching. They do like a preamble for 20 or 30 minutes about current events and how shitty the current events are. And then afterwards they talk about, well, which person's the asshole in the Am I the Asshole posts. That's actually like, I'm not interested in listening to that anymore because it's kind of just negative. And I didn't even think about it as being negative, but like, yeah, the stuff I consume, if it's negative, it's feeding into me because I'm consuming it actively. It's like I've agreed to consume this content, right? So I'm just not watching it anymore. Even though I've watched like almost every episode, I just haven't watched. and I won't be watching. Um, there's what was it called? Um, oh yeah, there's this guy. I think his YouTube handle is like settled or something. Uh, he he does what's it called? Old school RuneScape videos where he does like locked challenges where he locks himself out of certain like conveniences or makes up rules to do specific challenges for like new characters that he'll make, and he makes a whole video series on it. It's actually very entertaining. It's like really cool how he the thing I like about it, and the reason why I'm gonna watch his content still, is because he's showcasing a level of lateral thinking on, yeah, he knows a lot about RuneScape, but he does incredible research into like, okay, I need to get this goal done. How am I going to get to that goal? Okay, well, I need to do this, and this in order to get to this goal. So I'm going to start on that chain. I'm going to do it. It's like 30 hours. Boom, done. Now I can get that thing done. Boom, now I'm done with that. And then he moves on. And he's done some really awesome challenges. So, if you like that kind of content, it's really fun to watch. He's a great like narrative storyteller about this whole thing. So he puts a lot of effort and time into his videos. But anyway, the point is, I'm gonna pick things to consume that align with positive messages. Not because I'm trying to bury my head in the sand about current events, but because current events, quite frankly, don't actually matter for the most part. Like, there's a reason why most of our life, you know, we have very little to actually do with other parts of the world. Unless you're obviously like actively traveling or whatever, right? But like, you know, do you care about? I'll just pick Japan as an example. Do you care about something that happens in the Japanese prefecture of blah 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 whatever, where they had a new, local leader elected, or what? However they do their thing. I don't know. I actually don't know how they do their stuff. So ignorance there. But my point is, like, chances are you don't even know who like runs that prefecture at all, right? Whatever, the made up prefecture I'm just like referencing here. Um, Hell, you probably don't even know much about like Tokyo or some of the key like cities unless you've been there or you've done research on it, right? And so we hear about like all of these horrible things that are happening throughout the world, and it's like, I'm not saying that they're not horrible, and I'm not saying, well, it doesn't matter. It does matter. But can I do anything about it? If the answer is no, then why am I worried? Why am I worrying about it? If I can't do anything to change the outcome, aside from, hey guys, did you see that this awful thing happened? Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I wish something changed. Like, what does that accomplish? Nothing. You're just you're just like, well, I'm in the know, so at least I'm trying. And it's like, no, you're not actually trying. Like, get, like, come on, get over yourself. You just like to know about all the juicy gossip, and that extends to local events and non-local events that are happening. It's like, it's fine to be curious about that stuff, but it does drain you energetically, you know. Um, so unless it's going to be impacting me in some major way, or unless I can make an impact on it, I don't need to know about it. If someone tells me about it, fine. But even then, I don't really want to be told about it. Not because I'm trying to be ignorant, but if it's not going to impact me and I can't do anything about it, what actually is the point of me knowing about it? Like, truly ask yourself that. I've found there's no point in knowing. Knowing for the sake of knowing, well, you could say that about anything. Well, I just want to know. Okay, well, like, that's a want, and I don't want, right? I'm saying, is there a need? Do I need to know this? If I need to know it, yeah, I'll fucking know it. If I don't need to know it, and it's like, oh, well, you don't care about people. Like, I'm just staring at you like, really? If you think that, you don't know me at all. So it's like, you know, uh, so that's kind of where I'm at. And it seems like a pretty harsh stance, but if you don't like it, that's fine. You can go fuck off to somewhere else. Like, you don't have to be watching my videos. Um, so yeah, I feel like another new me again. It's like I'm more confident. I'm not gonna put up with bullshit. I'm not gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna do my best. And my best is making sure that I don't get dicked around for because I just don't want to stand up for myself. I have I have set my boundaries now, and if people cross them, then I will let them know politely that that is a boundary that I have, and if they continue to do it, well, I'm not going to interact with them. That's it. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to go. Have a good night, everyone. Tomorrow is the last day I'm here, so maybe I'll go get some like sushi or something, vegetarian sushi specifically, um, because there's like a cool. Although to be fair, just based on like, I feel like, uh, I don't know. I already feel like I'm probably not going to do the sushi thing now that I thought about it, because I'm like, I'm just not. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Okay. Bye. Have a good night. Peace.